Hi, this is Katie Gorsuch with Explore WIU, and I'm talking to Nick Gehricke from St. Louis, and he's going to talk a little bit about his time in the program and his experience as a student here. So, Nick, what drew you to Western and the program here?
What drew me to Western was really the hands-on experience that you can get right off the bat. My first semester, I had 3 radio shows, and I worked with News 3 in the newscast that we had Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, is that loud? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Is that okay? Yeah. But yeah, so I got hands-on right away. I was covering things like city council for a news beat. My radio show, I had a talk show and the 2 DJ slots. So I was already working with equipment, working with other broadcasting journalism students just to get more efficient in what we have. So I kind of dove right into the fire. I joined things like NBS, National Broadcasting Society, and SINBA, Students of Illinois Broadcasting Association, just to name a few. And we did things where we networked and we got to know alumni. We did Skype sessions. We've traveled. We went and visited different news stations, radio stations, production houses, things like that, just to further the enhancement of education. So rather than just book work and sitting in a class all the time, we had, many hours after class that we'd come up here in Salee and we would just experience different things that you would in the real world. So it's pretty cool.
Cool. So when you're doing the behind the scenes stuff here in the department, what's your position that you get to do?
For the behind the scenes, I kind of did camera for a while. That was probably my first kind of starting. Mm-hmm. But I've worked everything from audio board to CGs. I've kind of dabbled in. It's also not just news. I've done sports with the production. My biggest one was ESPN3. I was a sideline reporter for that, so that was actually on screen. And then I was also an anchor. So those were my kind of the 2 big anchor on News 3. So those were kind of the 2 big things I did with that. But production, it's pretty. I haven't gotten too advanced yet, but I've been able to manage a high level of skill with the few things that I've begun with. So
cool. So what has been your favorite class because of what you got to do in the class, or because it was unique, or something like that?
One of my favorite classes was probably broadcasting journalism, I believe 415, and it was basically news producing. So everything we did that you see on a newscast, from the stories that pop up to the little events that are covered and everything like that, it's all done there. So all the stories are written. That's when you can say have a camera look this angle, or have the talent look a certain direction. That's where it all happens. That's where all the magic comes together, and all the things are kind of tied together in a knot to have that outcome when you put it on air. So that was probably the coolest thing, because instead of just studying a book and you'd watch a newscast and I have to do that. Lester Holt said this or did this, and he looked this way with the monitor. We'd try to mimic that, and we'd try to do the best we could, because we're all learning, so it was all fresh for us. So we're like, okay, we can maybe do that, and I figure out how to explain that, put it out there, and actually get a good product out there. So that was pretty fun. That was probably the best class I've had so far, and I'm still a sophomore, so I have a ways to go.
Yep,
so.
You have a few years to take some new ones, right?
Yeah.
So besides being on the sideline and the other positions you've had, what other activities or opportunities have you gotten because of being in this broadcasting and journalism department?
For example, 88.3 The Dog, I'm a promotions director. So I went from first semester being on air, and then by the time last semester I was assistant promotions director, and then this semester I'm taking on the full responsibility. But that's just one of them. I've done everything with private chapter, NBS, SINBA, IBS. We have a bunch of different things. But 88.3 The Dog's probably the one that I'm most involved with now. We promote the dog, you gain sponsors, you work out with the community. We have different events that take place outside of the school campus, so with local restaurants or fundraisers.
So what's an example of something like a fundraiser, an event that you've done to promote?
The big one we did was Bounce for Breast Cancer. It was a marketing department put on this really cool fundraiser for breast cancer awareness, and they had these big inflatables, and kids would go between class and they'd go and they'd jump in the bounce houses, and they had the little balls you sit on and kind of bounced with. So that was really fun. But we DJ'd that event, so we had music playing, and we try to recruit as many people as we could in between, you know, classes. If they're walking by, they're like, "I just got some Einstein." I'm like, "We can hold it for you, you know, go jump," you know. And marketing raised a ton of money for breast cancer, and so we were happy to be a part of that and take place and interact with a lot of those people, because that's just one of the examples, and probably the largest one that a lot of people started recognizing us for and seeing us there. So
great. In terms of like the different scholarships and tuition waivers, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's actually really cool. A lot of the stuff you do. When I was an anchor with News 3, production assistants, reporting positions, promotions director on 88.3 The Dog, ESPN 3, you all get tuition
Waiver.
Well, yeah, tuition waiver. Sorry. And so they're not the whole tuition, but they're a substantial amount. Once you start doing a few, they kind of add up, and they help out a ton. So you're not just out there working your tail off just for fun. You know, it's like you get a little reimbursement, so it kind of helps motivate you. Also, I know for incoming freshmen, you get $1,000 right off the top of your tuition if you do your sport. So my freshman year, I did Macomb High volleyball. So you cover high school sport, and they give you $1,000 right off the bat right there for that semester, and that's really great, because that's one of those. I didn't have a ton of scholarships coming in, and so that it helped big time. And then I realized, oh, there's multiple things that you can do, and it starts adding up, and they accumulate, and then all of a sudden you're looking, you're like, holy cow, this is a nice benefit of being in this department. And there's so many things to be active in. I don't see why you couldn't get a little, you know, at least a little something. Yeah, exactly.
For prospective high school students, what kind of experience or expectations do you think they should have, like if they're interested in this program? Like what they should be gaining while they're in high school, and what they should expect coming in?
Connections. Meet a lot of people, network, especially if you want to stay in this field, because it's one of those everybody bounces around, and you never know what fields you might go into, like communication related. But one of those, be open to new experiences. If you're kind of like sheltered, like, oh, I just want to go to class, go in my dorm and study or watch TV, you know, I don't suggest doing that. Like, I came running here for this, you know, it's like you want to get involved, and you want to do as much as you can, and then always you can always cut back and find your groove later on. But I think the more you do and the more you get exposed to and at least learn about, that way you just get a more vast knowledge of the field, because there's so many things, and each one's fine-tuned and everything. So if you could get exposed to all that, and then, you know, by the time you're graduating, you'll have a good career set up ahead of you, because you've already been submersed in all the different little idiosyncrasies that are within the field, I guess, you know. So it's kind of cool.
Awesome. So do you have any final words or thoughts, advice for future students that you could impose on them?
Oh man, definitely come to Western. I'm not gonna push it, but definitely come here. No, it's one of those, you won't get an experience like this anywhere else. Between the alumni base that we have, and between the opportunities, and then the hands-on experience. You know, you can get those opportunities, but not be the one that's actually doing it. Here you can, right off the bat. So it's awesome. You know, it's one of those. It's here. You see, we win awards. We all come together like a family, and we put out a great product. So it's one of those. You get in and you can get involved, and sure enough, you're walking home with one of these awards, or you know, and your picture's up on the wall, and you become an alumni, and you can help a future student do the same. And then, you know, if you own your own company, you can start looking at Western and you know, hey Buzz, you know, get some of these good kids, and you know, I'll give them jobs later on. And that's kind of what we look for here. And you always have the opportunity to succeed, and always have a next step in your path in whatever phase of life you're in. So,
all right, well, thank you, Nick, and it was nice getting to chat with you today.
All right, thank you very much.